August 9th, 2024, we had a horrible incident. We had an 31-year-old postgraduate who had finished her duty and was taking rest. He had the audacity to go and rape her and then murder her. To make sure that such incidences will never happen again, it is my request that every one of us have to take an oath on this particular day, where again a doctor was slapped 35 times by a politician just because they told that the baby has to be referred to a nearby facility as they did not have the necessary equipments at the time of COVID, when everybody made themselves very protective. It was the doctors who came out of their comfort zone and came out to the war zone, and the other healthcare workers, whatever is within the system. We have to make sure that no mother or no patient should die when there is a complication. August 9th, 2024, we had a horrible incident in R.G.Kar Medical College at Calcutta. We had an 31-year-old postgraduate, a very intelligent doctor who had finished her duty and was taking rest at a nearby seminar room. A molester, a staff of the very same medical college, he was a civic worker. He had the audacity to go and rape her and then murder her. It was the most gruesome incident that a doctor had to suffer because the safety for her was not actually provided by the facilities of that hospital. The story is not ending here. We are actually seeing and hearing many such incidences where the doctors are being put into violence at their workplace due to various reasons, and also various women doctors who have been actually assaulted in a sexual way at that time of work. So, we, first of all, as citizens of India, and then as myself, as the chairperson of Violence Against Doctors Committee of the FOXY for the year 26 and 27, really look upon this incidents in a very serious way. Can we do something as a professional and as a citizen to make sure that such incidences will never happen again? So, regarding this, we have decided to observe the 9th of August in remembering that beautiful flower who would have blossomed into a wonderful doctor and who had actually had to end her life in a very miserable manner, in a very most gruesome manner, because a man lusted after her and killed her after what he did to her. So, I would take this opportunity to tell everyone that doctors, especially the women doctors, are working day in and day out to take care of the health of this nation. And it is my request that every one of us have to take an oath on this particular day to make sure that no other doctor is subjected to such violence at her place of work. And so we should join as one and observe this day in remembering this person, and we should take all measurements in all ways possible to make sure that such an incident never happens again. So this was actually, I was talking about what had happened to the Abhaya at R.G.Kar Medical College. But we are seeing plenty such incidences happening across in the hospitals against the healthcare workers. So this we have seen, so actually we had one doctor in Tuticorin who was murdered around 15 years back in Tamil Nadu. She was actually stabbed by the husband of a woman who had an emergency surgery. A lady doctor was murdered in her OPD by the husband of a person who was brought in critically ill. And we are seeing across India a pattern which is emerging that if something happens to a patient, the doctor or the healthcare worker should be taken to task. But is it really? We even recently saw an incident in Maharashtra where again a doctor was slapped 35 times by a politician just because they told that the baby has to be referred to a nearby facility as they did not have the necessary equipments to take care of that patient. So, for all such trivial reasons, if people start to take violence in their hand, what is going to be the state of healthcare of this people of India? My question to all those who are trying to take law into their hand is that this is a very wrong way of approaching the health care professionals, because health is a system where once upon a time we accepted that there is morbidity, there is mortality. We knew that some cases are very critical and these some patients are going to die. And we all know that pregnancy is another life for the mother and another life for the baby. And we had maternal mortality rate of around 550 30 years back. And now across India, we have reached it to less than 100. So we healthcare people are working day in and day out, both in the government and in the private circle, to make sure that the women or the patient of this beautiful country are staying alive. And we also want to reiterate that at the time of COVID, when everybody made themselves very protective, staying inside their homes, making sure that the COVID will not attack them, it was the doctors who came out of their comfort zone and came out to the war zone, and the other healthcare workers who took the war into the opposite camp, and we made sure that very few patients died due to COVID in India. Whereas even the developed countries, like some European countries and even US, they had a very high mortality rate where pits were dug and bodies were thrown into it because they could not handle the crisis of COVID. But here in India, with a population of around 1.4 billion, the government, with its vaccination policy, and the doctors who went out and faced these patients in spite of the risk involved, made sure that our country lost very few people to COVID. And during this process, we want to tell you that almost 2,300 doctors actually caught COVID while they were on their duty and shed their life. So, this is just to make sure that people understand that we doctors are highly conscious of our duty, and we are there working alongside the government to make sure that the public of this country is happy. For just some flimsy reasons which may not be pertaining to the doctor itself, if the patient starts taking law into their hand, where will the doctors go? Where will the patients at a time of crisis go? Imagine if all the private hospitals or all the hospitals just go out and say that I will not treat this patient because I am scared that if this patient becomes critical or this patient is going to lose the life, the attenders will come and beat me. If this is going to be the sense, how will you expect the doctors to come out and handle real emergencies? Time is not far off when the doctors will start thinking like that. So I request the citizens, the public, and the media too, who make it a very big issue, to think about it carefully. And I also want to say that if there was an error from the hospital side, we have our own regulatory authorities and we have our own voices actually going into it. And there is a court, the consumer court, where the, we are being judged very strictly through our bodies and also by the court. And if there is genuinely error is present, the doctors are actually getting punished, their licenses are revoked, the hospitals are closed. But I think till then, we should really wait and watch carefully as to what happens, because lives are always getting lost for so many causes. See, we have a flood, we lose 100 people. We have an earthquake, we lose 1,000 people. We have a broken road and we have a major accident, we lose hundreds of people. We have a housing board, a pack of houses going under the sand and killing hundreds of people. So routinely we are seeing tragedies. We are seeing death due to drug abuse. We are seeing deaths due to accidents on the roads. If we start reacting for every death in the way you are reacting to a death which is happening at the hospital alone, is it acceptable? Will this humanity survive if we start looking at every death and trying to punish without even knowing what is actually happening, just because there is a reel that is being taken and it is being circulated, and the crowd starts gathering outside the hospital and starts hurting the hospital staffs, start breaking the hospital systems. I would like to tell the public that there are very strict laws in place, and anyone who actually hurts the doctor is supposed to be arrested, and he cannot be let out on bail. It is a non-bailable warrant is being issued on those people who actually attack doctors and hospital properties. So I would request the government to implement these laws very, very strictly, so that any person who has an idea of hurting the hospital will deter from doing such an act. So I would request any person who would actually think of doing such an act to think of the consequences that he may suffer in the days to come, and think twice before actually trying to do such an act in any hospital. So, how to prevent? See, we are talking about the actual calamity, we are talking about why it's what is happening. Now, how to prevent it? As I already told you, that we want the legal system, we want the government to put in more stringent rules and to punish those people who hurt the healthcare workers. And also, I would request the hospitals who are actually having emergency care treatment, who are having a busy casualty, and especially women doctors working in the night duties, to be given adequate facility to make sure that their safety is actually taken care of. Especially, I remember when I was a postgraduate, I had to walk half a kilometer to reach the blood bank to get 2 bottles of blood in the middle of the night. And we used to be very scared because the corridors were not at all lighted, and we used to see rats scurrying here and there. So those were the days. But even those times, we did not face any such problems. I'm talking about the late 80s and the early 90s. But now coming to this era, even in the broad daylight and even in a night with so much of people moving around, we are seeing such a horrible instances happening. So I request the hospitals to make sure that the facilities which are taking care of emergency to give adequate protections. So you should have a voice recording cameras installed at all the important points, so that any violence that is actually planning to happen, if the person sees the camera, he or she will be deterred to know that they are being watched and that they could be penalized later under the rule of law. And also, whenever we are taking up an emergency patient or we are taking up difficult cases, it is very important for us to get a proper counseling under the camera, under the video, after explaining clearly to the patient that these are all the risk factors of the surgeries or of the treatment what we are going to do. And also, we should have a system activated in our hospital that at in any time of violence, the system should be activated so that immediately one person actually goes and make sure that the hospital doctors and the healthcare workers are protected. They have a chain of, they have a barricade formed immediately. One should actually go and inform the police station. The local police stations should be sensitized so that they will come immediately to the hospital that is being under attack and protect the hospital and its doctors and its healthcare workers. And also, the patient who was actually hurt. So we should also make sure that whatever is happening to the patient, time and again we have to go and make sure that the criticality of the patient whom we are actually managing, we should actually go out and inform the people periodically, so that the people outside should not come and tell us that I didn't know anything what is happening inside. That is why I got stressed. So the hospital authorities, the doctors, the healthcare workers, and the public, everybody has a responsibility to make sure that the healthcare system in this country should not be mocked by others, because in other countries, the Western countries, be it the US, the Europe, the Australia, and the New Zealand, and in other countries like your Gulf countries, this incidents never happens. The when the patient has a criticality, it is explained, and the patients listen to the nature of criticality, and they wait for the verdict, and they accept the decisions. But here they act in a very negative way, and then that is being screened by a camera, and then that is being circulated till a lot of hatred is being created at that particular hospital or at that particular instances. Still, medicine or an MBBS study is being appreciated by everybody because the recent protest at Delhi, no other degree got this type of protest. Just for this NEET exam, you saw thousands actually gathering and creating a huge ruckus across country for the paper leak for only the NEET exam. There was more than, I believe, I was just going through, there were more than 200 leaks in the past 15 years. But nothing created an agitation. Only a NEET paper leak for the study of MBBS only created such a ruckus. So there is still MBBS is looked at as a prized degree, and the doctors who are having those children who want to become doctor are still coming to become a part of this profession as a dream. And should we not protect that dream? Imagine that these doctors lose their faith in the system and they feel that I don't want to become a doctor anymore. I don't want to practice obstetrics anymore because when a mother dies in a hospital because of a complication, the hospital is being closed down, the doctor is being taken to task, and if the obstetrics is not going to be practiced, how will the women of this country, beautiful country, deliver? Don't you need obstetricians to deliver your children? So this is that is huge. From 10 to 15 years from now, I am seeing many doctors who are quitting. They don't want to practice obstetrics. They are leaving. Even if they take the MSOG, they are taking subspecialties like infertility and laparoscopy because of the violence involved in delivering the babies. So the country, the legal system, everybody should take this up as a wake up call and make sure that the doctors feel safe to practice, and we ourselves from our societies like both be it the Foxy and the IME, we are conducting huge awareness campaigns across the medical system to make sure that whatever is within the system, we have to make sure that no mother or no patient should die when there is a complication. But in spite of all the careful perusing, still due to certain deficiencies which is there from the patient side itself, patient comes very late or patient bleeds too fast or patient has some unexpected complications, patient is not responding to your drug as he or she is supposed to respond. So we have so many reasons why the patient goes into criticality, and though we save more than 95% of these patients from their complications, still there is a small percentage of these patients whom we are not able to save in spite of all the management we are doing. And this has to be accepted by the public and by the system and by the government. And we request everybody to help us continue our care for the health of this nation. Thank you.